Okay, welcome everyone. Today we are going to do the subject is reading Book of Changes, and sometimes we call Book of Changes Yijing. Okay, um, I have been running the series for the Feng Youlan's a short history of the Chinese philosophy. I take a break for two sections to read. 2 weeks ago, I do the reading the book of Old Shi Jing, and today I'm doing the reading the book of Changes I Ching. Okay, so I have a reason to do that because I think I'm going to go side by side. Sometimes read some ancient texts, sometimes go back to read the Feng Youlan's history of Chinese philosophy. So, for example, next week, we are going to continue on the history of Chinese philosophy, chapter 15 by Feng Youlan, and the subject is Confucian metaphysics. That's the reason I decided to do the section of Yijing before I go to the chapter 15 because chapter 15, Chinese Confucianist metaphysics is mostly based on the book of changes, Yijing. So I think that would be it would be better, to present what's the book of changes, what is Yijing before we go to the metaphysics part. So at least you know what's I believe most of people have heard the name Yijing or Book of Changes, and we know it's an ancient book, and we know it's related definition. Somebody say it's related to Confucian philosophy. Some people said, oh, it's also related to Taoism. Taoist philosophy. But we heard so many things, but I think the most important thing is let's see what's the book, right? Let's look at the book, okay, and see what's the book. And then we can understand what the other people talking about this book. So as usual, I'm going to brief talking about the schedule. So 2 weeks ago, last week, we talked about Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17. And on November 16th, Sashi is going to finish the Bhagavad Gita chapter 18. Okay, that's the last chapter. So in November 16th. And the next week, November 9th, I'm going to present the history of Chinese philosophy by Feng Youlan, which is the chapter 15, Confucianist metaphysics, which is partially related to the book of changes, Yijing. That's why I'm presenting today about reading the book of changes, Yijing. This one, I would say the purpose here is one purpose is a continue, serve as an introduction or foundation for next week. Second is a lot of people have a concern. What's this book? And I've been requested to do work on the translation or present this book. I find out it's very difficult. So today eventually I'm going to give a try. I'm going to kind of like opening the book, okay, and tell everybody what's this book, okay, and then without explaining uh, the detail, because there's so many detailed explanation, and then I don't think there's any consensus. Okay, so that's the difficult part, and that's I'm going to do for today, right? So some people ask me from the chat, I forget to reply. Talking about like he has or she has bought the book, okay, of Book of Changes or Yijing, which is about 500 pages. How am I going to present for today? So yeah, it's 500 pages if you want to do it. But today's purpose is just go through the book, and I'm not going to go through 500 pages, page by page. And then I'm going to tell you how to read it, okay, this book, okay, for the 500 pages, because you are not going to read from the page 1 to page 500, and then you can jump around and to read this book if you decide to read. That's the purpose of for today. So today's I will divide it today's section in a quite simple way. Okay, so first I'm going to introduce the book, Yijing, and sometimes we call the book of changes. Sometimes you see the translation Yijing, right? And with some people pronounce as I-Ching, right? It should pronounce as Yi, right? So the modern way to do it is this way, Yijing. Okay, so that means the book of Yi. And the meaning of Yi, I think I will explain more detail next week when we talk about Confucianist metaphysics. That's words, just like when we talk about Tao. What is Tao? That's another big word. We don't. It's not easy to explain in a short time. Okay, so make it simple. Yi means easy, also means change. Okay, change is easy. Okay, so put this way, change. The world is constantly change, but understanding the change is easy. Okay, so I think that's the purpose of Book of Changes. So I'm going to provide the 3 layers of reading this book. You can read as a symbol. Okay, that's a symbolic book. Trigram, 8 trigram, or 60 and 64 hexagram. Okay, that's the first level of reading. Okay, and then second level of reading, you can read the statement and the commentary on the second layer. So that means for each hexagram, they have a commentary and they have the statement. You can read this one. That's the second layer of reading. The fourth layer is more Confucianism reading. That's the 10 winds. You can see these 10 winds as appendix commentary of the statement of the symbol. Okay, so that's the way to read it as 10 winds. So this one is a more philosophical way. So of course, they have the fourth layer of reading, which is reading as a Confucianist metaphysics, which I'm going to provide next week. That's in the formalized reading. That's Confucian, totally complete Confucianism reading of Book of Changes. So before I start on the first part, I will, if you have any question, comment, or what you expect for the next, please raise your hand and or any comment. No? Okay. So I'm going to talk about the author. Okay, how does the book come into be? So I have showed this picture for many times if you attend my section before. That's the history from about 2000 BCE to 2000 AD. Okay, 4,000 years. Okay, so the key is here. We are talking about Confucius. Okay, 500 BCE, around 500 BCE, which is 2,500 years ago. We're talking about Qin Wen of Zhou, which is about 1,000 or 1100 BCE. Okay, so-called ancient sage king. And then even before, okay, before we call it mythology time, right? So this one is a cultural time. We have the Xia dynasty, we have the Shang dynasty, we have Zhou dynasty, we have the spring and the autumn period, we have a warring state, and we talk about the philosophy, 6 school of philosophy. This all happened during this period of time. And right now we are going back even before 4,000 ago, it's go to the so-called the Yellow Emperor. Yellow Emperor, we call it's 5,000 years ago emperor. If we want to compare with Christian or compare the Bible, that's the patriarch Abraham, right? That's about that time. Okay, that's the Yellow Emperor, and in general, being considered as the the common ancestor of the Chinese people. Okay, so we call Yellow Emperor. Okay, of course, that must be mythological figure. Okay, and even before that, okay, they have the person called Fu Xi. Okay, so in this case, there's no reason to find archaeological evidence for the existence. It's you can see just legendary or mystical emperor. That's Fu Xi. And before Fu Xi, they have the farmer, so-called Shen Nong. Okay, they have the Sui Ren. Okay, they have the You Chao. Okay, you can look at this way. People in the mythology, people try to think about the first emperor is the person who teach people how to live, how to build a house, right? Sui Ren sometimes call it kindler. Okay, that's the king or the god. Okay, teach people how to use fire. Okay, then they have the farmer's god. That's Shen Nong. That means they teach people how to farm. That's China become a agricultural state, agricultural country. And then later on come with Fu Xi. Fu Xi, we can say it's a cultural king, right? Just if you go to the Greek mythology, okay, you can see we have the okay, so culture is always associated with fire, farming. Okay, so you can see as the they are the god. Let's put it this way. That's why I call it the mythology. So the reason I bring up this one, not because I want to talk about mythology today, because traditionally people attribute the Yijing, the 8 trigram or 64 hexagram is created by Fu Xi. Okay, which if you ask me how many years ago, that easily can say 5,000 years ago. There's a guy, Fu Xi, created this one. Okay, so that's the one. Then I also need to introduce some other possible, okay, well, authors. Okay, so before I go that, Fei Wu, you have a question or comment?
Yes, I wonder, what source did you get the information from, this mythology?
This mythology, well, if you ask me where this picture or this coming from, I copy from internet, okay, Wikipedia, and then that's the common belief. Let's put it this way, it's a common belief. If you ask me what's the source, that's just the common belief.
Story. I mean, these figures.
This figure, yes, that's the common understand. All the ancient writing, they talking about this. Okay.
Oh, which writing?
I don't. That's all the writing. For example, okay. I can recall in Xunzi's writing. Okay, he called like he write. Okay, at the beginning they have the Nestor. Okay, You Chao teach people how to build house. He talk about the kindler how to build that. So okay, he talk about this. Okay, Xunzi. Okay, in his I forget which chapter. One of the chapter I talk about this. Okay, that's one example. And then also in Zhuangzi, okay, the Taoism writing also talk about this. So there's no specific book dedicated for this story, but in the ancient writing, they all talk about this. That's why I call it common understanding. So I hope I make it clear. Okay.
Thank you. I have another question regarding
Okay.
Huangdi,
Yeah.
the Yellow Emperor.
Yeah.
The yellow here, is it in comparison to White Emperor and Black Emperor in in terms of color?
No,
Skin color?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I'm not very sure. Okay, but usually we call yellow emperor. And that, okay, but today we will focus on Fuxi as a writer, okay, well, the creator of the hexagram, okay. So a few people I'm going to introduce, but I'm not going to go to the detail, okay. I just bring, because you will hear this name, and the purpose is just give you some idea of who is this person, okay. So Ginny, can you read for me on the King Wen of Zhou, so-called Zhou Wen Wang. Okay.
King Wen Zhou was the posthumous title given to Yijing. I'm not pronouncing.
Right? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not pronouncing these names well, I know.
Yeah.
He is the patriarch of the Zhou state during the
That's pronounced as a Zhou state.
Zhou state. Zhou state during the final years of Shang dynasty in ancient China. King Wenzhou himself died before the end of the Zhou-Shang War, and his second son, Jifa, completed the conquest of Shang following the Battle of Muye, and posthumously honored him as the founder of Zhou dynasty. Many of the hymns of the classic of poetry are phrases to the legacy of King Wen. Some consider him the first epic hero of Chinese history.
Okay, so here we talk about this person. Okay, so this one we already out of mythology. So we will say the ancient book, okay, mention about this. For example, if you want to ask, how do we know, okay, the story of King Wen of Zhou, book of poetry, right? 2 weeks ago, we talked about book of poetry because this poetry, okay, praise how great, how cultural King Wen of Zhou. Okay, so King Wen of Zhou has been considered a patriarch of the Zhou dynasty or Zhou state. Okay, during the time, even he is not the person who overthrown the Song dynasty. Okay, remember, Song dynasty is the dynasty. If we look at this one, this is Zhou dynasty. This is Song dynasty. So Song dynasty was overthrown by Zhou dynasty. And the Zhou King Wen of Zhou is not the person who overthrown the Song dynasty, but he has been viewed as patriarch of the Zhou state because his son, his second son, King Wu of Zhou, overthrown the son. So they have a famous war called Battle of Muye. Muye. Okay, so pronounced as Muye. So this one is a famous war. We will talk about this one in the next slide. Okay, so Ginny, that's his second son, King Wu of Zhou. Okay.
King Wu of Zhou. King Wu of Zhou, personal name Jifa, was the founding king of the Chinese Zhou dynasty. King Wu was the second son of Yijing, posthumously King Wen. In 1046 BC, King Wu took advantage of Shang disunity to launch an attack along with many neighboring dukes. The Battle of Miye destroyed Shang's forces, and tyrant Zhu of Shang set his palace on fire, dying within. King Wu followed his victory by establishing many feudal states under his 16 younger brothers and clans allied by marriage. 16.
Thank you, Ginny. Okay, so here we talk about his son, King Wen of Zhou, son King Wu of Zhou. So he waged a war. Okay, the war happened in the Muye, Battle of Muye, eventually destroyed the Song forces, and the tyrant was set fire on his palace. So and died himself. So sometimes I can consider this war, the Battle of Muye, kind of like a Trojan War, right? That's a famous war and overturned the entire world during that time. We can call it change the world. So that's a historical major event, and the thing changed. So I'm going to go to the next slide, okay, for another person, Duke Zhou. This one is extremely important person. If you were in my section on every Tuesday reading Confucius Analect, Confucius constantly praise Duke Zhou, okay,
Duke Zhou.
Duke Zhou, yeah, Zhou Gong.
Duke Zhou, yeah.
Zhou, okay.
Was the fourth son. He was the fourth son of King Wenzu. Duke Zhou played a major role in consolidating the kingdom established by his elder brother, King Wu. He was renowned for acting as a capable and loyal regent for his young nephew, King Yijing, and for successfully suppressing the rebellion of the Three Guards and establishing firm rule of the Zhou dynasty. He is also a Chinese culture hero, with the authorship of the I-Ching and the classic of poetry having traditionally been attributed to him, as well as the establishment of the rights of Zhou.
Okay, thank you, Ginny. So this person, Duke Zhou, okay, and Chinese pronounced as Zhou Gong, is probably well, should I say the most important person, okay, in history, okay, in Chinese culture, because Confucius always considered Duke Zhou is the founder of the great culture, great political system. So you can see, okay, he's also the Chinese cultural hero with the authorship of Yijing. That's the book we are going to talk about today. Poetry, book of poetry that we talked about 2 weeks ago. Okay, but of course he's not the person who write, but he's co-author. He must have come on that. Okay, so and especially also on the right of Zhou, so-called Zhou Li. Okay, that's all Confucius praise this person. So you can see he never been a king, but his older brother is the King Wu of Zhou. His father is King Wen of Zhou. Okay, but he's not king. He only is a duke. That's why we call it the Duke Zhou. But he become a loyal regent to when his nephew become a king. He helped his nephew set up the entire feudal system, which has been seen by Confucius as the greatest, perfect political system. Fei Wu, you have a comment?
Yes, earlier you said Shen Nong could be the
Yeah.
author of Yijing. And also
No,
another question.
I didn't say that. I only say Fu Xi. Okay.
Oh, Fu Xi, right, Fu Xi.
Yeah.
So was Yijing written by Fu Xi or Duke Zhou?
Both.
Oh, okay. So
Okay,
start
so
with Fu Xi and completed by Duke Zhou?
no, not yet. Be patient. I will continue.
Okay,
Sorry.
I have another question.
Okay.
Did Duke Zhou have sons himself?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, he has a son in himself, and his son become the Duke of Lu, the state of Lu, and the Confucius is 500 years later. Confucius is the citizen of the state of Lu. That's why. That's one of the reasons. So you answered a very good question. Okay, whether or not he has son. Yes, he has son, and his first son has been appointed as the Lord of state of Lu, and Confucius is in that state in Shandong today. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Confucius briefly because we talk about enough Confucius, and I show this one only for the person who first time join and not familiar with Confucius. Ginny, if you can read, please.
Confucius, Master Kong, 551 through 479 BCE, born Kong Ju, how do you say?
Yeah.
Kong Ju was a Chinese philosopher of the spring and autumn period, which is traditionally considered the paragon of Chinese sages. Much of the shared cultural heritage of the East Asian originates in the philosophy and teachings of Confucius. His philosophical teachings, called Confucianism, emphasized personal and governmental morality, harmonious social relationships, righteousness, kindness, sincerity, and a ruler's responsibilities to lead by virtue. Feng Yulan called him the first teacher in A History of Chinese Philosophy. Confucius' disciples compiled his teachings in Analects.
All right, thank you, Ginny. So that's a brief introduction of Confucius, and then so the reason I bring up these people is I think I talk about 3 layers of reading, right? So I'm going to show that the 3-layered whole text, okay, to answer Fei Wu's question, right? Fuxi, the graphic symbol, the statement about each hexagram and each line, okay, that's by Qin Wen of Zhou and Duke Zhou, okay, so that's the person who do it. What Confucius do? Confucius write the 10 winds, the 10 commentary. But of course, when we say Confucius wrote it, I don't believe Confucius himself wrote all this one. Must be Confucius and his disciples, because some place you will say, the master said something, okay, the Confucius said something, so they must by his disciples, added on later. So this book is, you can say, compiled during 3 periods of time, right? In the early period of time, let's say 5,000 years ago, okay, they have Fuxi, who created the symbol, okay, 8 trigram, 64 hexagram. 3,000 years ago, Qin Wen of Zhou and the Duke Zhou, okay, they start to write statement on each hexagram and each line for the hexagram. 2,500 years ago, okay, Confucius and his disciples start to add commentary, okay, on all over the place. Okay, some we call the appendix. I will go a little bit detail this one. So that's today we call Yijing, or Book of Changes. That's the situation. That's the authorship of this one. Ginny, you have a question?
No, it's interesting. 10 wings kind of made me think of 10 commandments.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
interesting. That's an interesting question, and I have another discussion with a different group, and then we will talk about this later, because I think it called the wind 10 yi, right? 10 winds is interesting, okay, because people ask why call 10 winds. I think it's 10 winds because if you think about winds, right, like birds, you will lift it up, right? Before it's just a divination text, it's talk about statement, and you add 10 winds to lift up so it can fly. Okay, I think that's the reason, and then I think that's a beautiful name to call it. We have a Fei Wu and David. Fei Wu, please.
So the symbols were created by
Fuxi.
Fuxi, and the explanations were done by Zhou and
Zhou Wen. Yeah, the statement.
Confucius.
I will explain what's the statement later. Okay, but there's some
Okay.
statement and some commentary. Okay.
And the graphics were complete just by Fuxi alone.
I think well,
Okay.
it'll be difficult to say alone, right? And because we even don't know there's a person called Fuxi or not. That's just roughly that during that time is completed.
So and
Jason, thank you. I need to go, but thank you so much, Jason. See you.
No problem. No problem. Okay.
And Zhou and Confucius didn't add any graphs. They just added statements.
That's right. You are right.
Okay.
So the graph 64 is fixed by Confucius' time. Okay, probably 500 years before. I would believe. Okay, Qin Wen of Zhou already at that time already fixed the 64 symbols. Okay, and these 64 symbols never change. Okay, for the rest of, let's say, 2,000, 3,000 years. Confucius and Duke Zhou, they add the commentary, they add something on that, but they didn't change the symbol. You are right. Okay. David, please.
Okay, I hope I can be heard.
Yes.
In the translator's note on page XL, which is 40 in Roman numerals, the translator states that Richard Wilhelm
Yeah. Wilhelm.
wished,
Yeah. Yeah.
wished to bring this first philosophy, this first effort of men to place themselves in the cosmos, out of the domain of specialists and put it in the hands of individuals anywhere. Okay, my question is, would you characterize this Book of Changes as the first artifact of philosophy?
I will not say first artifact of philosophy. I will say the first book.
Okay, so
and what's the purpose? I will talk about later. I think the original purpose is for divination, and later on.
can you nominate another book that was earlier that was an attempt to place man in the cosmos, an effort of philosophizing?
You mean
If this isn't the first, what is?
you mean I okay, I'm not sure your question. Your question is this the first?
My question is about the characterization of this book as the first effort in philosophy, the first surviving effort in philosophy. And I'm wondering if you think that's a fair characterization, and if this is not the first effort in philosophy, what is?
What is the first book of philosophy in China?
Or in the world?
In the world.
In the world, I don't know. Should I call Heraclitus? Okay. And shall I call the Parmenides writing as the first philosophy? I don't know. Really define.
Or Thales, I don't know how you pronounce that.
Thales, I don't think Thales have anything writing left. I'm not sure, So I'm thinking about Thales, but I'm not sure he has writing left. So I don't know.
Okay.
So that's my book. So people may say that's a philosophy because in the ancient time, it's very difficult to categorize the writing as a philosophy literature, or are you going to call Homer's? Okay.
No, I'm not going to call Homer philosophy.
Yeah,
But,
that's the same situation.
I understand your reluctance to characterize this as philosophy since it's a book of divination and has other purposes and meanings.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering how fair you thought that characterization was by the translator, and it seems you're pushing back against it.
Yes, I push it back. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, no doubt that the Wilhelm is should I call the best translation or the only good translation left? Okay, it was translated a long time ago from Chinese to German, and today we read is retranslated by what's her name? Beiyang, translated from German to English. Okay, that's what we are reading. And it's still very good, And I have to admit, I I cannot do better job than this. Let's put it this way. Yeah. Okay, so that's back. Thank you for all the comment. Let me back to the presentation. I'm going to talk about the 3 layer of reading. Okay, so first layer, we talk about the graphic symbol. Okay, I think we talk about this, and then we talk about and the second layer and the third layer, right? Okay, and here probably that's the subject. That's why I have to push back on Wilhelm's comment about that's the first philosophical writing. Okay, because at beginning, it's not philosophical, but in the way people treat it, it can be philosophical. That's why I disagree with the Wilhelm's comment as this is the first philosophical writing, but in a way, I would say he's not wrong because you can read as a philosophical writing. Okay, so here is I copy from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and I think that the author here has a pretty good comment. That's why I copy a lot of things I copy from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Okay, if one focus on the 64 hexagram, the Yijing resemble a manual of divination. Each hexagram is a record of fortune telling, consisting of a hexagram name describing a specific situation. Okay, for example, marriage, mobilization, and army, cleaning the well. Okay, all this kind of thing, and each one contains 6 lines detailing the alternate move in a given situation. I will have an example later, okay? But if one focus on 10 Wing, okay, which is later part written by Confucius, okay, one finds a lengthy discussion of process of cosmology, the philosophy of symbolic form, and the moral metaphysics. Okay, here back to David's question, right? If you include 10 winds, yes, that's the philosophical writing. There's no doubt about 10 wind. 10 wind is in the book of change. But the situation is this. If you include 10 wind, it cannot be the first because it's later on being added by Confucius or Confucius disciples. So this 10 winds is not written 3,000 years ago. It's not written 5,000 years ago. It's probably written 2,500 years ago. Okay, so since the canonization of in 135 BCE, okay, that's important. Even this one is the most ancient book, but the standard we read today is in the Han Dynasty, which is around 135 BCE. That's about 300 years after Confucius' death. Yijing was often read by Chinese educated elites as a philosophical text, and it was the philosophical reading that made the Yijing a living text throughout the imperial China that constantly posed crucial questions to its readers and the commentators. In early China, okay, I think this line is important. Okay, in early China, divination was intrinsically philosophical, because they were undertaken by the upper class to make critical decisions, such as starting a war, stopping a natural disaster, or choosing a spouse to continue the family life. That's all important decision as a ruler have to make. Okay, so that's why my opinion is it was originally a divination book, but you can read it as philosophical. Okay, so here I provide some about how to read Yijing, the Book of Changes. For readers today, a major challenge of reading Yijing is overcome the dichotomy between philosophy and the divination. Okay, so please read the dichotomy between is mental dichotomy. Okay, it in the text is not clear it's a philosophy or divination, but really depends on how you read it. Okay. To many of us, divination and the philosophy are diametrically opposed. Okay, whereas divination is based on a belief in a good or deity who communicate the message to believers through symbols or trusted medium. Philosophy is based on rational thinking, cool-headed analysis, and precise articulation. Okay, so in our point of view, divination and the philosophy are totally different, but how can we connect them together? To the author of Yijing, divination is intrinsically philosophical because its goal is to provide an opportunity for self-reflection. While performing the ritualistic act of divination, the inquirers find a quiet moment to review the past, examine their present, and make plans for the next step. I think that's start to come with the philosophical part and start to have a commentary, so-called 10 wins written. Okay, much like 500 years later, okay, they have the philosophical part of writing, start to have it. For the inquirers, it is unimportant whether there is a deity or a spirit during the process of reflection, appraisal, and anticipation. It is more important that they reach a decision after carefully evaluating the available opinion and make critical movement to improve their lives. So I think here, try to explain how divination being viewed as philosophical. Okay, I think that's very, and then I'm going to provide the example for the rest of time today, and then I hope you will understand why this one is difficult and why people has always have a different opinion on this book. Okay. Before I move on, the rest time I'm going to provide kind of like open the book, okay, and for the 3 days of reading, and then I hope it will bring a clear understanding for everyone. So before I move on, you have any question, comment? Barbara, please.
I like the way you split it up between philosophical and divination. I'm thinking though that you could split it up even more and say that rather than just philosophical, it's also something psychological. Because you talk about a basis for decision making, and that to me is a cognitive activity that is not really philosophical, but pretty psychological, right? But you need underpinnings to make those decisions. And it kind of reminds me of Charles Sanders Peirce, who talks about cognitive activity as pretty much decision making. That's how people roll. And he's considered a philosopher, but he's an American pragmatist. So I don't know if that qualifies him as the kind of philosopher as like, say, Plato. But I think that there's a kind of an overlap or a kind of a meeting between philosophical and psychological with the way this text is used that really attracts me to it.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. And I will say I totally agree with you, but I'm not going to present in the way of psychological reading or epistemological reading on this one, because it's relatively modern. So right now we are, I'm not saying you are wrong or some other people are wrong. Okay, only I'm right. But I'm talking about the way I try to present is avoid the modern interpretation. Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
That's the ancient text. You can say, oh, that's what Freud is talking about. Yes, that's what it is, right? But forget about this because they don't know this, right? So that's why I have to limit. I have to get rid of my modern knowledge, psychological modern knowledge, Newtonian law, all this kind of thing, and present as an ancient text. Okay.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, great point. But I hope everybody understand, because if I bring the modern knowledge, then there's too many ways to talk about, and they probably it's difficult. Madeline, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Great.
Great. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Jason. Terrific presentation. I just thought I would pile in here with a comment, which is that in our modern distinction between philosophy and divination, it also made me think of our modern distinction between science and everything else, when in fact we use science for divination all the time. We use it for genetic testing, we use it to predict weather, we use it for climate change, we use it for all sorts of things. We use statistics to try to predict the likelihood of things. So we're still doing divination, we're just using different techniques.
That's a great comment, you know. Yeah, thank you, Benton. Yeah. Okay, so let me move on for the reading. Okay, so let's start from yin and the yang. I don't think I need to further explain what's yin and the yang. And just look at the symbol, right? A line with a broken, that's called yin, and then yang is a solid line. That's the symbol. Okay, if we want to say who created this one, the answer is Fu Xi. Okay, 5,000, 6,000 years ago, he created this symbol. And then I think it's very natural, right, for the primary tribe, okay, to find some way to represent positive, negative. So, you know, a lot of things you can attribute, okay, aside to something called yin, something called yang, right? I just list here as an example. Of course, you can argue, you know, it's not correct. Let's say, you know, most of people will agree. I say most. Okay, okay. Female is yin, male is yang, and the black is yin, white is yang. Talk about color, dark and the light. North is yin because it's colder, and the south is hotter, so it's yang. And the water because it's flowing down, so it's yin, and fire is going up, kind of heated, right? So we call yang. Passive, okay, the attitude is passive, that's yin. If active is yang. Moon, okay, we call it yin, and the sun is yang because it's brighter. Earth and heaven, earth is yin, heaven is yang. Cold is yin, warm is yang. When you get old, you are yin, and then when you are young, you are yang. Even number is yin, and odd number is yang. Okay, valley and mountain, you know, that's poor, rich, soft, hard. Okay, so there's many way to categorize yin and the yang, and of course you can argue, right? Is pencil is just like you learn Latin words, they have the a female, male, you know. So everything is arguable, and but let's say that's a common understanding what's yin and the yang, and then of course it's relative, right? So for example, myself. Jason, okay, I'm a father, so to my son, I'm yang, okay, but I also a son of my father, so in this case, I'm yin, and my father is yang. I'm a husband of my wife, so in this way, I'm yang, and she is yin. Okay, so I work for a company, my boss is yang, I'm yin, and somebody work for me, I'm yang, and it's yin, and then blah, blah, blah. That's many things you can do, but that's very simple way to give the attribute for everything, right? So Fei Wu, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I'd like to seek your input. Would you say Confucianism is more yang, it's more structured, and
Taoism is yin.
and Taoism yin, or
People,
the balance of yin and yang?
yeah, some people say that because the Confucius, first the Confucius, this kind of thing on the north side, Tao is on the south side, and the Confucius is more pursuing perfection. I will talk about next week. Okay, and the Taoism pursues like, you know, concern, preserve your energy, don't go out too much. Okay, so that's in. Yeah, you can talk about this way. That's a fair. Well, I'm not sure everybody agrees it's a fair statement, but that's the way of categorize two different philosophy. So that's just basic. And of course, we can spend hours to argue, okay, which one is in, some people try to argue with me this side is in or this side is in, right? So there's many ways. Your hand is in or yang compared to your foot. So you can go forever. You can say that's nonsense argument, or you can say it's a very philosophical argument. That's up to you. But that's the way to categorize yin and yang. So next step, if you consider yin as 0, yang as 1. If you are mathematical thinking, or you are in the computer science, you must know the binary system, right? So if you put the 3 digits together, put 3 lines together, okay, 2 of power of 3, that's 8. So that's create 8 trigram. Okay, that's what we call the first layer of symbol, right? So you have 8. So this 8, I think you can imagine the primary tribe. People use this symbol, you can represent 8 different nature phenomena, right? So from the earth, mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake to heaven. So there's 8 different phenomena. Okay, so you can see this 8 thing is probably the basic concern for the agricultural people, right? That's the thing people concerned about the water, about the fire, mountain. That's the world they are looking at. You see, there's no ocean, this kind of concept, right? So it's a kind of the farming people, farming culture. So you can see that I think we don't need much to create this 8, right? So since we have the 8, so probably not enough. So if you put 8 combined together, 8 times 8 is 64. So then we create the 64 gua. Okay, so that's a hexagram because that's a 6 line. So here I just put an example, right? On the top is the fire. Okay, on the bottom is water. You can see fire and water. Okay, okay, fire and the water. Okay, put these two, you put together, one on the top, one on the bottom. Okay, so you create something different. I think this one called Lei, or I forget. Oh, 大壮. Okay, 大壮. Okay. So anyway, so then we create the 64, and then we lay out that's a 64 hexagram. So that's the symbol we are creating. Okay. Let's go to Fred.
Can we impute any notion of yin and yang to these trigrams? For example, can we say from this that fire is somehow more yin and water is somehow more yang? Or is there any?
Yeah,
Or-
there are people talking about this. Yes. Okay. The answer is yes, but not in today's subject. Okay. And then I think in about probably on the 1st century, or 100 years, probably I'm not that good about the number, but I think about 50 BC. Okay, around the 1st century, there's one guy called Liu Xin. He created his own hexagram. Okay, instead of yin and yang, he put the heaven, earth, and human. Okay, that's a 3 symbol, and the 3 times 3 become 9, and the 9 put it together, then created his own system. Okay, but I think it's a great creation, but unfortunately, nobody follow, so it kind of lost. And we can talk about this one day. I think that's an interesting invention, but
What was his name again?
Liu Xin. Okay.
Yijing. I find that's really interesting because
Yeah, that's interesting.
Can
I
you
talk
name
about
him?
this. I mentioned about this many years ago, and it's interesting, but I just don't remember exactly how he called it. The reason is this: people create this one, and this I think that you don't need some genius to create this 64 symbol. You can do 9. You can do. I think in Maya also have created their own numerical system. That's every 20 they have to change. Okay, so I studied that before. It's interesting. So all the cultural people, they create some symbol, okay, to represent something. But the reason we read this is the data commentary. And the people keep using this for 2000 years. That's the part interesting. Okay, so that's the 64. Okay, so here I'm talking about is the tradition. People do this one. So here we call Zhou Yi. Okay, because before the Zhou dynasty, they already have this one, and just like kind of Fred talking about, is that possible to do a different way? Yes, I believe they have a different tribe. They probably do it in a different way, but it becomes standardized. We call Zhou Yi, okay, because the Zhou dynasty, they fix it, this symbol. So before I go to AK, okay, let me finish this part. So this is 64, and the way Chinese do it is for the first 30, okay, they call sum. Okay, I will call it part A and part B. Okay, so that's so 1 to 30 is deal with heaven and earth, deal with the nature phenomenon. 31 to 64 we call xia, or call B part, the A and the B. Okay, they deal with the human world. So that's so-called separate, so-called the upper and the lower, or you want to call it A and B. Chinese call Sang and the Xia. But in my way, I will call A, B to make sure, there's no conflicts on that. AK, please.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the trigrams again.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I know the four elements are pretty common, like fire, water, wind, earth.
Hold on, you call 5 element or 4 element?
Four
4 element
elements.
in Greek,
Yeah.
Chinese do 5 element.
Yeah, you got the metal. That's correct.
Yeah.
So the question I had is like, for example, mountain, thunder, are they the literal translations of the Chinese words, or do they actually mean something else?
Okay. Yeah, I think you have the 2 questions here. Okay. So first, 5 element. Okay, please. There's no 5 element in Yijing. 0. There's none. Okay. Don't mix them together. People mix them together. That's in the later part. Okay. In the later part, if you go to today's Chinese doctor, okay, when they study Chinese herb, they have a 5 element, and they also have yin and yang. They all mix together. And if you go to feng shui, okay, they have the 5 element. They have the Yijing. They all work together, and they talk to each other. But remember, today we talk about is the book, and this book Yijing has nothing deal with 5 element. Okay. And here talk about water, is not 5 elements water. Okay, so just make it clear. And second question is the original text talk about this? No. Okay. If you know Chinese, you probably want to see the words. I put the parentheses. Okay. I call Di, which is earth, but the word right is Kun. Okay. Here, Chinese word called mountain, sun, but the original word called is gun. Okay, so they use some symbolic word, not really the common word for that. Okay, so I will stop here, but the answer is for our level of my understanding, or my level of understanding, just take it as earth, take it as heaven. If you want to argue, okay, what's the original text? It's called Qian. In next week, we read it. When we read the Chinese Confucianist metaphysics, the words used is Qian, and sometimes I just change to Tian, which is heaven, would be easier to understand. Otherwise, we will stick with the symbol. Okay. Jesse, please.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. No, because sometimes things get lost in translation, so I just wanted to verify that. Thank you.
Okay. Jesse, you have a hands up.
Yeah, so the slide that you were on, the last slide that you were on before the last question, the final slide that you were on. That
Which one? This one?
This one.
Okay,
So
go
you
ahead.
had mentioned that this was A and B.
Yeah.
So what does A mean and what does B mean in English again?
Well, okay, put this way. There's no English. Let's put it in the Chinese called "sang" means up. Okay, "xia" means down. Okay, but I don't think that means up and down. Okay, it means when you when Chinese book write okay, in English, we write a 3-volume book. We will say volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, right? And then Chinese will write 上中下, that means up, middle, and down. Okay, but it doesn't mean higher, middle, and lower, right? It means 1, 2, 3. It means continuous. That's why I prefer to translate.
Oh, like the way the Chinese characters are written.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
A, B.
yes,
Okay, so because the Chinese is not alphabetic, right? So you cannot do A, B, C. That's the difficult part. So you have to forgive me for my own
Thank you. I
preference.
want to say make one more comment. I had the I-Ching book
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
did predictions with the coin and they came true. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that I can talk about this later. It really depend on how you do it. People in today, some people just use the computer program, just random number, hit a button, you get thing, right? That's an easy way to do. Or another way, you get a 64 stick. Okay, it's just like a lot, right? You just pick a stick. And 3 coin is the most common people do today. Okay, they use 3 coin and to do it. Yes. Okay. One of my friend is a big believer of the I-Ching divination. So when he's also a big fan of the baseball, the major league. So like before the the game, he will use divination to predict who will win. Okay, so that's another way to look at. Okay, but that's not the part I'm going to talk. Okay, AK, please.
Yeah, just wanted to notice part A and part B is not evenly split. I guess the significance is that you keep 2 separate for the heavens. Is that the reasoning behind here?
It never evenly split. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, same as 道德经 they had the 81 chapter and they split to 2 part, but it's not evenly split. Okay, I'm not sure why. Okay, so but that's what is. Okay, so go to a little bit detail. Okay, so you can see this one has 64 and each one has a 66 line. So each line we give a name, okay, depend on it's yin or yang. If it's yang on the first, we call 9 at the beginning. This one is yin, so called 6 at the second. This one is yin, called 6 at the third. This one is yang, we call 9 at the fourth. And then this one is yang, we call 9 at the fifth. This one is yang, called 9 at the top. Okay, so that's the naming convention, and they have the reason, but I'm not going to explain because original have the 50 year-old yard, and you do it. They have the ritualistic process to do it. I'm not going to explain the detail, but that's associated. That's why each line have a name, and then you can see we have a 64 hexagram. And each hexagram has a 6 line we call yao, and 6 times 64, they have a 384 yao, and each one has commentary on that. So that's almost complete on the first layer of reading. That's all symbol, no text, only symbol, right? So here I'm not going to the detail, but basically you can have a 4 aspects to understand this symbol, right? One is understand as a human finitude. okay? Because our ability is limited, okay? So the nature situation is unlimited, constantly change. How does we are being limited by the environment, and then how do we understand our situation? I think that's one way to look at. Second way to look at is you can see this one as a decision maker, right? You can, so this decision maker, what decision will make you to the good fortune and what decision will bring to the misfortune? I think that's another way to look at. And you can look at as a symbol, okay, the 64 symbol, or you can look at as a ritual, okay, just like you use, just like some AK mentioned, is AK mentioned about the 3 coins, okay, or JC or somebody read the book talk about 3 coins, and you can go more ritualistic, okay. So really depends, how you want to look at this book. So, but that provides the first layer of reading. And before I go to the second layer, okay. So remember, on the first layer, we don't deal with any text. We only deal with the symbol. Okay. Fei Wu, please.
Rituals performing divination with 50 yellow stalks.
Yeah.
Why 50 in
I
particular?
don't know why 50, but traditionally they use 50, and then they have a certain process. I read it before, and then I forget. I totally forget. Probably I'm not so interested on this part. That's why I forget. But I remember you just randomly grabbed certain nine of them. I think it's grabbed certain number, and then they have something left, and then the grabbed, and then you decide which one is yang or yin. If it's 6 left, it's yin. If 9 left, it's yang, and then it's continue. So that's a ritualistic process to go through. So that's the way it is. Yeah. So any other comment, questions? Before I move on to the reading on the second layer. Okay, the second layer we are dealing with is the statement. Okay, so-called statement, 词 in Chinese word called 词. Here I recommend the book. Well, that's a great translation. Okay, by Richard Whelan. Okay, Whelan. Okay, he translated from Chinese to German, and then Baines, right? I don't know how to pronounce it. She is a She translated the psychology writing, and then she translated from German to English. And this book is, I think, I will show this book. And another one is Leggie's translation in C-text. And both, I would say they did a very good job. The reason I say good job is it's very difficult to translate. And then some people ask me, Jason, why do you want to translate the Yijing? Because I did the translation on Dao De Jing and the Confucius Analect. We just finished the 20 books of Confucius Analects with Among. I think that's a great job, and I think I did better than Leggie's translation. Even Leggie is very good translation, but it's like over 100 years old. We need a new translation. Same as this one. I think we need a new translation, but it's more difficult than translate the Dao De Jing or translate the Confucius Analect, because the text is, well, I will show you later why it's difficult. And then if And then I only can provide is a Williams translation on that. So, okay. A few commentary, because right now we start to deal with commentary and some statement. So here's just some terminology. Let's make it clear. We have a 64 hexagram, right? For each hexagram, they have the name, 挂名, okay, the hexagram name. And for each hexagram, remember we have the 64 hexagram, okay? So each hexagram, they have the hexagram statement, so-called 卦辞, which we talk about being written by King Wen of Zhou about 3,000 years ago. Okay, so they have something. So 卦辞 is written by. Then they have something called 团. Okay, judgment. This one is a part of 10 Wen. Okay, and then they have something called image. This is also part of 10 Wen. Okay, so remember for each hexagram, each of these 64 hexagram, you have his name, hexagram statement, judgment, image. Okay, so that's the one. Okay, and for each hexagram, you have the 6 line. Remember, we have the 6 line. So each line, they have the line statement, which is written by King Wen of Zhou. They also have image. So this one called the big image. This one small image. In Chinese called 象, means elephant. Okay, so big elephant and small elephant. And interesting is in the Chinese word, ancient Chinese word, the elephant means image. Okay, I think the reason is China most of the people in China never see elephant. But the people travel to south, close to Vietnam, Thailand, they saw elephant. And when they come back, no doubt they will describe the big animal with long nose and this one. So people start to imagine what kind of animal. That's why, that's called elephant as an image. So I translate. So that's the thing we are dealing with. So to answer the question, how to read this one, you can imagine, right? They have the 64 hexagram. And why the Wilhelm's translation, if you put the 3 volumes together, it's about 500 pages. Why is it so long? Because they have a 64 hexagram. You can see as a book with 64 chapters. So each chapter, you open each chapter has name, right? Have statement, have a judgment, have image. We can see this thing as introduction. So each chapter or each hexagram has 6 lines. Then we can see as 6 sections, right? Chapter 1, section 1, section 2 to section 6, right? So each section have a statement and they have the image about this one. Okay, so they come with the whole book, 64 chapters. Each chapter has introduction and they have the 6 sections. Okay, so that's why the book can go very long. And Chinese writing is not that lengthy that compared to Western writing. It's pretty brief. And sometimes you will see a book, humongous writing is people put additional commentary for the modern time. For example, psychological commentary, political commentary. So you can make this book become enormous, huge. Okay, but here we just deal with Wilhelm's translation. So I'm going to provide, I'm not going to go through all 64 or going too many, but here I just take a screenshot on the Wilhelm's translation, which is clear and simple. I will not say 100% accurate, but I think that's pretty good to do it. Okay. So let me go on. Okay, so this one is number 6. You can see from the symbol here, right? Number 6 is song, okay? And the symbol you want to look at, okay, you can look at this symbol, right? There's a 3 solid line, a 3 solid line, and broken line, solid line, broken line. So that's the number 6, right? So here we can see this one is chapter 6, right? Called song. Okay. The meaning, song is the pronunciation. The meaning is conflicts. Okay. In modern meaning, this word means lawsuit. Okay. So let's face the difficult part of this, because if you look at the title here, the name, they have the hexagram name here. Here one called Qian means heaven, it's called Kun means earth, Tun, Meng, Xu, Song, Si, Bi, Xiao Cu, Lü, Tai, Pi, 同人、大有、谦、玉、随、古、林、官、刺客、坟、壁、父。Okay, so how do I translate this word to English? Okay, that's the big question, because most of people, myself, don't understand 50% of this word. Okay, because these words are not used in modern day, even not in the ancient text. A lot of words never use it. Even use it is in different meaning. So that's make the translation so difficult. But I still appreciate Wei-Heng make this translation to make this effort to do the translation. So this word song means conflicts. So he explained, okay, on the above the 3 solid line is qian, okay, which means heaven. On the bottom is gen, means water, okay. Water, heaven on the top, water on the bottom, okay. So look at that's the opening. So this one you can see as introduction. So they have the judgment, okay. So you say conflict, you are sincere and are being obstructed. A caution, halt halfway bring good fortune. Going through to the end bring misfortune. It furthers one to see the great man, 大人. It does not further one to cross the great river. Chinese called 利见大人，不利涉大川. I think in general it's a good translation. It's fortune to see the great person or your superior. Is not good to cross the river. So probably means if I have to travel to Asia or I have to go someplace, it's not good, but probably that's a good time for me to visit my boss. Okay. I don't know, but that's the text, right? Image. Okay. You said heaven and the water go their opposite way. The image of conflicts. Thus, in all his transaction, the superior man is a 君子. That's a very Confucius writing. Okay, it's a 君子以做事始谋. Okay, thus, in all the supreme man, carefully consider the beginning. Okay, as a 君子, as a supreme man or gentleman, should be careful at the beginning. That's the image it's talking about. So how are you going to interpret this one? Okay, that's another choice. And I don't know. Okay, but is there anybody as good at to interpret this one? I even don't know there's somebody can be qualified as expert on that. I think the best way is you just contemplate. Okay, so we will talk about how to read it and why you want to read it, or why you don't want to read this. Okay, Fei Wu, please.
Sorry, Jason, the previous slide, please.
This one, yeah. Okay.
So the judgment was written by Zhou, and the image was written by Confucius, or no?
No. They all written by so-called Confucius. Okay.
The judgment was written by Confucius as well.
Yes. That's
So
yeah.
what was Zhou's contribution in here?
I think here I just have to criticize on Wei Hen's translation, because actually the first three lines should belong to the statement, not the judgment. But the Wei Hen translation, they mix together. Okay. And that's not all his fault, because a lot of Chinese texts, they start to mix together. They have the some called statement, some called judgment. Okay. So a lot of time they mix together. So sometimes you cannot tell which part is by is a statement, which part is judgment. Okay. So I think that part is not very clear.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I'd like to try to translate it.
I mean,
Based on the judgment, it seems like you are going to do the things half-heartedly, not all in.
okay. That's your understanding. You read the Chinese. That's you.
Not the Chinese, the English in the judgment.
Okay.
Because if you are all in, then you'll be distracted. So just do half of it.
Okay, that's a good way to think about it. Okay. So
And then
halfway bring good fortune. Okay. If I read the Chinese, right? 替中吉 ，OK，刚来得中也 ，OK，替中吉 ，OK，so 替中 I even it means careful in the middle, OK, good luck. So probably I have to say probably the translation is pretty good, because even in Chinese it's difficult to understand. Yeah.
And then the image means try not be cautious with your language, try not to get into conflicts with
Yeah,
others.
because this name, this hexagram is song, which is conflicts, right? Conflicts is in general considered not good, so you try to avoid. Okay. That's my interpretation. Some people may have a totally different way, but the reason I show this is not I want to interpret this one. I just want to let you know, when you see people talking about Yijing, okay, Book of Change, what are these people talking about? Okay, so I think that's the important part. So Madeline, you have the hands up.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Fei Wu, go ahead.
I was just going to say it looks very similar to a daily astrology reading.
Oh, you can say this way. Yeah, that's why, I will say it's a divination text. Okay, but later on, I will show you. I want to make sure we have time. We talk about philosophical part, and at least next week is the philosophical part. Madeline, please.
Yeah, this one, it reminded me a bit of it's a verse in the Tao Te Ching, that sweat the small stuff.
Okay.
So this one is, that the sage doesn't have big problems, because the sage focuses on the tiny things before they get started, and kind of forecasts into the future, and spends time on the small things so they don't balloon into big things. And this reminded me of that a little bit, to, I guess, keep your speech modest and don't get involved in affairs over your head. And yeah, so anyway.
Yeah,
thanks.
I think I think that's a good way of reading. Sometimes it makes sense to contemplate on this word and then help your decision. Anyway, David, please.
Yeah, somebody mentioned astrology in the West, and I just have one brief thing to say here, which is that the premise of astrology is that there are 12 constellations in the night sky that have some influence on our fate. But the problem with astrology is that those 12 areas of the night sky, some of them contain 2 of the constellations of the zodiac, and some of them contain no constellations of the zodiac whatsoever. It's baloney. Don't ever, ever believe it. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So, okay, let's move on. Okay, so right now we are on song, right? They have this one. Okay, then remember they have the 6 line, and each line has its own statement. So here is, if you read the Wilhelm translation, the second page, you talk about 6 line, and again, he doesn't separate the statement and the image. Okay, so here has the image. So here all put together. So I don't think we should read all of them, just pick one. Okay, so remember, we read from the bottom up. So here it said 6 at the beginning. Okay, that's 6, that's on the bottom. 9 in the second, that's the 9 in the second, that's this line. Okay, 6 in the third place, 1, 2, 3, that's 6 because it's in. 9 in the fourth place, that's this one. Okay, so here is 9 at the top because this one is yang. Okay, so let's read the first one. Okay, the 6 at the beginning means if one does not perpetuate the affair, there is a little gossip. In the end, good fortune come. Okay, so second line is yang. 9 in the second line means one cannot engage in conflicts. One return home, give away. The people of his own 300 household remain free of guilt. Okay, so that's the thing. You can go on and on. So some are shorter. Some don't see all are this short. Some are a little bit longer. So if you are interested, you can go to another one. I pick another one, 55, called abundant. Same format, right? Judgment, image. So they have the symbol. Then you go to that one, each line, they have the statement, right? And then 36, 明夷, darkening the light. Okay, same way. Okay, so we can go on and on and on. So, okay, so I'm going to skip. So I suggest there's a 4-way to use this one, right? To use the hexagram, okay? Hexagram statement and light statement as a warning against the danger and the downfall. I think somebody mentioned about, okay, this one, okay. So to use Yijing in trigram and hexagram to understand the ceaseless change in the nature realm and the human realm, okay? Because the 6 line keep changing, you know the change, right? To use hexagram image to enhance rulers' authority. So that's in the ancient times, right? So you do the divination through the rituals, okay? Then you can present us to legitimize your decision, okay? So because that's the definition. Or you can use the definition to provoke inquirers to think more deeply about their choice, right? So contemplate the line and then help you to think through, give you some hint on that. So here I'm going to provide the 3 approach through the history, okay? I call it the nature way, human way, and the divine way to read it through the history. And I pick 3 people, okay, as a representative. Dong Zhongshu, okay, we will talk about in the Feng Youlan's short history of Chinese philosophy. I think in chapter 17. Okay, so talk about Han Dynasty. Okay, the goal of the okay, so I put a slash here. It on the surface it reads as cosmological, but actually the purpose is political approach, heaven and human. So legitimize the emperor's decision. Okay, so the goal of correlative cosmology was not to develop a comprehensive understanding of the universe. It's not the purpose of modern science. Okay, rather, it was to legitimize the transition from the concept of imperial sovereignty based on might into the need to support the claim to rule with intellectual section. Thus, the emperor was said to be crucial link between the nature and the human realm. Okay, so Dong Zhongshu bring this kind of interpretation from the cosmological approach, but actually his purpose is political. About 3rd century, a famous scholar, Wang Bi, he take a rational humanistic approach, but he tried to build its metaphysics. He directed the reader attention to the metaphysical significance of a hexagram. As pointer, hexagram help reader develop a mental picture of their surrounding, allowing them to sort out the opportunity as well as the limitation of each given situation. So basics 1B try to do is read this one as your situation, right? And the approach is a human approach, which is practical. Okay. 3rd one would be much later. Okay, the 11th, 12th century. Okay, 13th century. Zhu Xi, the famous scholar in the Neo-Confucius movement, regarded the importance of divination as a method of self-cultivation. So Zhu Xi read this one as a divination, but the purpose of divination is self-cultivation. Okay, that's the very tricky part. Divination is not a superstitious act of seeking guidance from a supernatural power. Rather, it is an enriching experience of encountering the unknown and unfathomable. Okay, so here, Zhu Xi try to do is associate with fortune and misfortune with moral and evil. Okay, so when you make a decision, so here Zhu Xi kind of tied the definition and the moral together. Basics, if you face the situation, any situation happen, right? For example, you want to vote, who you are going to vote, that's the situation, it happened. They have the fortune. Well, basics, the question is, what shall I do? So on the definition point of view, the result is fortune or misfortune. But in the moral sense, the result will be the moral or evil. So Zhu Xi kind of associated this book of change with definition approach, but turn out become a moral teaching. Okay, so that's 3 ways of doing it, and I'm not going to go detail because they were all included in our standard series of a short history of the Chinese philosophy by Feng Youlan. When we in the certain chapter, we will talk about these people and how they interpret the Book of Change, and that's why it's important for today to bring up what the book is talking about. So we have the last part to talk about before I move on. I take some question. If you do have a question or comment, Fei Wu, please.
What was Dong Zhongshu's rationale behind to make Confucianism the dominant religion? What was
Okay.
its rationale?
Well, let me make it simple because we will talk about in two sections. Next week we'll talk about chapter 15. Chapter 16 is talking about the world philosophy. I think in chapter 16, Dong Zhongshu is talk about because Dong Zhongshu face the situation is totally different than Confucius, right? Confucius during that time there's many states. They are thinking about the situation is many states. Dong Zhongshu's situation is only one state because Han Dynasty. Okay, so that's the rationale is thinking. Okay, that's why he had to bring a heaven, okay, to emperor. Let me make the answer simple. We will have more detail when we get this point. AK, please.
Yeah, so just want to confirm that this cosmological way is the natural way, and then the divination is divine.
Yeah.
Okay, and the middle is the human way. Okay.
Yeah. So I just roughly, you can criticize it's not precise, but I just make it simple, just roughly, this way. Okay, so let me move on 10 winds. So people talk about 10 winds, and here I just want to, I'm not going to do all the reading because next week we will have enough time to do the reading. But 10 winds, what's the 10 winds, right? I got listed 10 winds here. First two, wind 1 and wind 2, judgment. Okay, and okay, so let's go back, right? That's the judgment on each hexagram. They have the judgment. And how come it's two wind? Because we have upper and the lower, part A and the part B. So they have two winds. Okay, so judgment. Image, right? Also have the part 1, part B from 1 to 30, 31 to 64. That's the image. Okay, that's 4 winds, right? Okay, so the judgment and the image, they go inside each hexagram. Okay. Then the rest of 6 winds, okay, is not go inside each chapter. That's thing about this book in a way, consider as a book, a huge book, right? They have the 64 chapter. Each chapter have introduction, which include the judgment and the image. And each hexagram have a 6 section. Each section has image on that. So let's go 64. That's covered wind 1, 2, 3, 4. Wind 5 and 6 is the so-called Great Treatise or called Appendix AB. Okay, that according to tradition, Confucius wrote this one. Okay, and we are going to read this one. This one become the most important text about the philosophical, metaphysical writing on that. And it's set as a foundation for Confucian philosophy. Even this one happened after Confucius have after many hundred years after Confucius. Then they have the 7th wind is so-called Wenyan. That's the word of text. That's about the commentary about the first 2 hexagrams, heaven and earth. Okay, because the first hexagram and the second hexagram are the most important hexagram that deal with heaven and earth, or you want to call Qian and the Kun. The 8th one is explanation of the trigram. Remember the 64 hexagram is created by the combination of 8 trigram. So wind 8 is talk about this 8 trigram. Wind 9 talk about the sequence, because this sequence from 1 to 64 is important. Why this 64 go this order? Okay, that's also important. So this sequence of hexagram is talking about this. The last one is miscellaneous hexagram. Basics is mnemonic, help you how to memorize the hexagram. Okay, each hexagram give you a short description, so it will help you understand or memorize this 64 hexagram. So this one goes 10 weeks. So we complete this book, right? This book with appendix, commentary, you know, all the thing, and go inside, and then you have the 64 chapter. Each chapter have the judgment image, which and then each chapter have the 6 section, which is 6 line. Each line has some statement. So you can read this statement to understand, and you can read the 10 winds, okay, for the more philosophical part. So I think we have time to read the first one. I think that's very important one. That's the Appendix A, the first Appendix A and opening. Okay, that's the very, very important text we need to read. Mark, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. You might have I came in late, so you might have already covered this. So if so, then I can ask you privately. But what do you know about who wrote the 10 Wings and when they were written?
Okay, 10 winds, according to tradition, okay, Confucius wrote 10 winds, okay. But when people say that Confucius wrote this one, it's not Confucius. It must be Confucian scholar in the later time, right? So it must happen after Confucius' death, I think. That's my opinion, okay. But it's not the original Yijing, okay. So we will talk about more next week when we deal with Confucianist metaphysics. So here serve as the opening of the appendix, so-called appendix. There's the two-part appendix, and each part, part A and part B. And each part has so-called have a 12 chapter. Okay. So here we are reading the first chapter of Appendix 1. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm going to read the first part of chapter 1. So this one deals with the I call it the cosmogony. Okay, so how does the universe come into be? How does this world coming out? Okay, so heaven is lofty and honorable. Earth is low. Okay, here called Qian and Kun. You can read as heaven and earth were determined. Okay, so here talk about heaven is lofty, earth is low. Then by this heaven and earth situation, Qian Kun, okay, these two words fixed in this way. Okay, so here, that's the first line talk about heaven and earth. Second line, talk about things low and high appear displayed in similar relation. The noble and the mean had their place assigned accordingly. Okay, so here it talking about heaven and earth. So therefore, we have the first hexagram and the second hexagram as Qian and the Kun fixed in this way. Accordingly, the noble and the mean, okay, and the upper class and the lower class, you can do this way, okay. So here it talk about the society. They have the hierarchical society. That's follow the nature, heaven and earth, and then they have the noble and the mean, okay? That's how people is going to act accordingly. Then it talk about the nature. Okay, if you want to read, that's the movement, right? Movement and the rest are the regular quality as the strong and the weak. Okay, so here you talk about the 64 hexagram also explain the movement and the rest, 动静, move and the rest, strong and the weak. Okay, they talk about nature phenomena. Then you go to the moral. Affairs are arranged together according to their tendency, and the things are divided according to their classes. Hence, will produce what is good and evil. So here, the moral teachings start to go to the heaven and the earth, the society, hierarchical society, the nature, okay, have the movement and the rest. They have the strong and the weak. And then you talk about we categorize things, okay, affair in this way, high and low. And then they have Jishong right here, it kind of mix with lucky as good, evil as unlucky. Okay, so that's all together. If you do moral act, you are lucky, you will be lucky. If you do evil act, you will be unlucky. Misfortune will happen. So that's how it come to the moral lesson. In the heaven, there are different figures. They are completed. And on the earth, there are different bodies are formed. Okay, the changes and the transformation exhibit. Okay, so here that this one we serve as the final, as a everything is changeable. So in a way, you look at it, it's a hierarchical society, right? There's somebody on the top, somebody on the bottom. Okay, but think of the one, it's not this kind of fixed situation because it's going to change. Okay, just like the nature, because sometimes have a movement, last rest, right? Strong and weak. They will change. Okay, they will reorganize. So it's not like totally still static situation. The situation is change. Then it move on the same chapter, move on to talking about male and the female. Okay, so I'm not going to go through on and on, but that's the text we are going talking about male and the female. So we talk about the male function and the female function, and then move on to the simple and the easy. It's the why we deal with the book of change. So it's a 24 chapter book on this one. This one being considered as like most important text in if you want to consider as a metaphysics. That's the most important part of that. So next week we will continue on this one. I'm not just continue from today's reading, because next week we are going to deal with Feng Youlan's A History of Chinese Philosophy. And the title, chapter 15, is Confucianist Metaphysics. Confucius metaphysics based on two books. One is Book of Change. Second book is the Doctrine of the Mean. So it's based on this book, these two books. And I feel like it looked like the purpose of today is to give a foundation to understand what's the Book of Change or I-Ching. And then next week we can, when we read the Confucianist metaphysics, we have an idea what the Book of Changes, Yijing, is doing. So some of these texts we will read next week as the metaphysics for Confucianism. Okay, so I will stop here, and then I believe you probably have some question or comment on this one, and I think that's probably I will introduce serve as the first introduction of this book, Yijing. Okay, AK, please.
Yeah, wonderful presentation. I love it. Is this PowerPoint presentation in one of the links in the Google spreadsheet, or would you be posting it at a
Oh yeah, I
later
will
point?
post it. You go to the meetup. Okay, the presentation I will put it over there. You can find it if you
Oh,
can.
okay.
If that makes me, yeah, I make this public. So
Perfect, perfect. And the question I had was, you were talking about the hierarchy and about changes and it changing. Does it also mean that the top is not truly a top, but it's probably the bottom to another top?
Yes, you need that. Okay, that's a very good question or very good comment on that. Sometimes you see the teaching of especially Confucius teaching or it sounds like it's going to preserve the existing social status, but it's not so static. Just like you said, the top is not always on the top because it will change. That's why it brings to the change part, right? When they talk about the appendix, talk about heaven and the earth, talking about the social structure, talking about, then you talk about movement, right? Then talk about moral, then doesn't talk about change because it's going to change. And the reason they talk about change is think about the King Wen of Zhou, because all this system is created by King Wen of Zhou. And how does this state, dynasty, Zhou comes? It comes with a war, right? They have the revolt against the Shang dynasty, which is their lord. So they have legitimized this situation. That's why this philosophy is important and the change is important because it's going to tell you it's not always been this way. If we're not doing right, it's going to change. Okay. And of course, what I did was right because that's the reason. So I think that's the original situation, So that's all I can explain. And I know I think it's a difficult book. And then probably today will serve you whether or not you want to read it. And my suggestion is you don't have to read it. Not everybody have to read it because if you know what it is, and then you may decide, oh, that's another book I want to read. Or you may decide, oh, that's the book I want to spend a lot of time to read. And either way, it's fine because we don't have time to read every book. So I think today I give you introduction, so you know whether or not you want to read it, and if you decide to read it, you know what to expect. Okay, so I think that's the purpose. Okay, so I will stay here for a while. So any comment, question before I move on? So let me